Get on there, you don't. Okay. The seat is on the side.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami
Hare Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And also, a special welcome to Kastuba Guru, one of the originators of this program, Bhagavata Sravanam. So it's because of you that we have this program today. And some of my best memories at Bhakti Center, I genuinely mean this. Some of my favorite memories of my time at Bhakti Center have been sitting there when you give Bhagavata Sravanam class and listening to you. Please come soon. I don't know, but there. He has been for many months nicely refusing my requests to speak because he's working on his book, which is very exciting. And we soon going to Mayapur to finish it. So we're very excited to hear from Sri Prahlad, and also very grateful that Sri Gandharvika is here. She dressed the deities this morning, and they're looking so beautiful. And Sri Prahlad is very special. I think everyone in this room knows him. He was born into the Krishna consciousness movement. His parents are devotees, and he was always very serious. He went to the Mayapur Gurukul and received excellent training. And at the age of 13, he took shelter with his spiritual master, Hridayananda Das Goswami. And then for 18 years, he traveled with Indrajumana Swami, doing various services for Indrajumana Swami. And then since that time, he has done so many different services, traveling the world, doing kirtan and lecturing and teaching and inspiring countless numbers of individuals in their Krishna consciousness. And then he married his dear wife, Sri Gandharvika. And then he's, for many years, been teaching, a professor. And he specializes in, it's like leadership development, correct? Leadership development, and has actually written a book on this subject that we should all read. And he recently, on September 5th, moved here to New York City and is now going to be a pillar of the Bhakti Center. And he's going to speak about Prahlad Maharaj, who for him, Rishidev, came out of a pillar. So his name is Sri Prahlad, and he's going to be speaking about Prahlad Maharaj. So I think he has a lot of realization on this topic. Yes.
Thank you for that generous introduction and for this opportunity to share with you. The topic, as you see advertised there, is the compassion of Rantidev and Prahlad Maharaj. Someone mentioned that I work also as an academic, and my primary area of research is compassion in organizations. That was the topic of my doctorate that I submitted over a decade ago, and have a book coming out with Routledge, one of the leading academic publishers, next year. And so I'm always interested in anything compassion related, and then specifically from our sacred texts. And two exemplars that stand out for me in the Srimad Bhagavatam, two exemplars of compassion, are Rantidev and Prahlad Maharaj. So we'll speak on them, and then we'll see what lessons we can learn and imbibe from them in relation to compassion, and particularly compassion for us as bhaktas, as devotees. In the Buddhist tradition, compassion gets given a lot of emphasis. Ahimsa gets translated oftentimes as compassion. Buddha is said to have said, Ahimsa paro dharma, the supreme religion is non-violence, or is compassion. And so where does that apply for us as bhaktas, as in Bhakti Yoga? That's a question that I ponder often. And so I hope you'll get some inspiration from this discussion, and it'll be, I hope it will trigger some thoughtfulness and reflexivity within you. Maybe a ground shift in your feelings towards compassion and bhakti, devotional service. Many years ago, Raghunath Maharaj visited us in Poland. He stayed with us, or he visited us a few times, but I think this might have been his second visit. He came for just a few days over Woodstock. I remember that time his health wasn't good. It was really generous of him to come and spend that time with us. He had, when I looked in his room, I saw he had some contraption where he would hang, like it would turn over and it would invert him, and maybe for his back or something like that. I don't know if any of you remember that period, but he was traveling with that. His health wasn't good, but he was very kind to come and spend those days. And Woodstock is mayhem. It's 300,000 young people in a field with music stages and bands, but then we have lots of opportunity for devotional service there as well, and that impelled Maharaj to come and give association to the 300 devotees that were there serving these people over the 4 days of the festival. And as Maharaj was leaving, I wanted to offer him something, but I didn't have anything to offer. I had offered my service in singing and leading kirtan and devotees, but in terms of material possessions, I didn't have anything to offer. But I was really feeling that I wanted to offer, really to express my gratitude that he had, despite his ill health, come there and spent that time with us. And as I was feeling that I wanted to offer him something, someone came to me and gave me an envelope, and I opened it and there was a donation inside. So I ran over to the car where Maharaj was as he was pulling out, and I said, Maharaj, I was so wanting to offer you a donation just as an expression of my appreciation and gratitude, and I didn't have anything, and then someone just gave me something now. So is that plugged in?
Yes.
Maybe it's another signal. It just says something you need to plug your computer in. We'll pause there for a second.
Sometimes tomorrow, I say.
Try this one.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, good. It was plugged in all morning, so I don't know what's going on. So I told Maharaj, I said, someone just gave me a donation and now I can offer it to you. And then he said, Sri Prahlad, you were just like Ranti Dev. And so I had heard of Ranti Dev and his charity, but Maharaj's encouragement and his appreciation inspired me to better understand who is Ranti Dev, that Maharaj is directing my consciousness towards. And so I want to tell you a little bit about Ranti Dev as and his generosity and his compassion, and then we'll discuss Prahlad Maharaj as well. Ranti Dev's story is very famous. He's famous for his kindness and his, as Maharaj suggested, giving away everything. Like he didn't have anything to give, but when he received something, he gave it away. That's his story in essence. What is his character? So, 9th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 21, is we learn about Rantidev. Harim Sarvatra Sampasyam. He saw the presence of Krishna within the hearts of all living beings. And this is really fundamental for compassion and bhakti. Perceiving Krishna's presence everywhere, in all things and in all beings. It says here, everywhere and in every living entity. And so, what is his story? He had been fasting for many, many days. Although a great king, it seems he was in the kings, yes, they also face hardship in European history, and it seems in Bhagavad history as well. So despite being a king, like the Pandavas were banished, they were also made megas at certain times. So Rantidev, at this particular time that we meet him, he is without anything. He's not even able to feed his family. And so there was a 40-day period where he and his family were basically fasting for want of any food. And on the 40th day, someone brought to Rantidev this very, very opulent meal. The Bhagavatam mentions there was ghee, and there was milk, and there were vegetables. So a very a wholesome meal was brought to Rantidev. And he was about to eat, so we can imagine he's given a portion to his family, he has a portion for himself, and then there's a knock at the door. Rantidev answers, and there is a Brahmana at the door who says, I'm hungry. Please give me something to eat. There's a principle in Vedic culture. Atiti Devo Bhavan. The unexpected guest, Atiti, untimely guest, Devo Bhavan, embodies God. God is present in the, or to be seen, or to be honored in the unexpected guest. And that's the Taittiriya Upanishad. Acharya Devo Bhavan. The Guru is to be honored as God. Matra Devo Bhavan. The mother, Pitra Devo, the father, they are to be honored as God. And Atiti Devo Bhavan, the unexpected guest, to be honored as God. And so, actually, once I was distributing books in South Africa, and it was an Indian area, so I guess maybe this was be expected, but I came to a door and I came with the books, and this they would often invite us in, please come, please sit, please have some water, please have some fruit, and then they would take the book. But I remember one particular old elderly lady, she said to me, for us, you are to be honored as God, because you are the untimely, unexpected guest. And so, Rantidev, he received this guest who's hungry, and he gave him half of his portion that he was about to eat. And once his guest had been satisfied, and he had gone on his way, Rantidev was again about to eat when there was a knock at the door. And this time, it was a worker, so not an exalted priest or a teacher, someone that society itself will honor, but a more common person, a laborer. And he tells Rantidev that he's hungry. And so Rantidev honors him as well by serving him the remainder of his meal. And once he had satisfied his guest, he sent him on his way. Rantide sat. This time he was going to drink the water. You see, he didn't even have water over that extended period. He was about to drink the water when there was another knock. And this time it was what society regards as an outcast. Someone outside of the social milieu, the social system. He came with his dogs. Rantide asked, "How can I serve you?" He said, "We're thirsty. Me and my dogs, we're thirsty. Can we have some water?" And I guess here, Rantide, so there is something, we tend to feel more compassion with those that we identify with. In-group bias. When someone is classed as the other, some other group, then we feel we don't identify with their problems as much as we otherwise would. This is a tendency, a psychological, sociological tendency. We tend to empathize more with people whom we see to be similar to us, because we see their potential suffering, or their suffering as our own potential suffering. And when they are somehow othered, we are less likely to empathize with their pain and their struggles. And so it's also a defense mechanism that we can use to other people, to make them somehow non-human or less human, or Rantide might have done that with this social outcast and his dogs. But remember, he sees Krishna's present in the hearts of all beings. There is the commonality. So, this is what he said. Arjun prapadye kila deha bhajam antat stito yena bhavantya dukkha. This is his prayer. I don't pray to God for the 8 yoga perfections. I don't pray for salvation from birth and death. I just want to stay among all beings and suffer all distress on their behalf, that they may be freed from suffering. Compassion is a response to suffering. Compassion is being aware of and noticing another person's pain, having empathy for that, seeking to understand it, and then to respond in some way. And we see here Rantide's compassion. He has such empathy, such care, that he wants to take on himself. This is what he's praying to Krishna. Let me take the suffering of all others, that they will be free. Let me do that for them. And so, what's a glass of water then? With that attitude, what's a glass of water? And so he offers his water, it says, respectfully. That's also really important. We could do something grudgingly. Oh, yeah, have it. I haven't eaten anything for 40 days. I was just about to have some. Yeah, have it. We could do that as well, kind of guilt trip somebody as we give our charity. It says he offered his obeisances, like his respects, to that outcast and the dogs, as he offered them the water. And something wonderful was experienced by him as he did this. And this is also really instructive, because when we give we may be concerned that we will feel depleted. But this is Rantidev's experience. By offering my water to maintain the life of this poor Chandala who is struggling to live, I have been freed from all hunger, thirst and fatigue, trembling of the body, moroseness, distress, lamentation and illusion. You might have experienced this. Sri Gadarika and I have spoken about this. Sri Gadarika in Poland would always serve prasadam to all the devotees. That was like a choice service. Breakfast, lunch, serve all the devotees prasadam. And then sometimes the devotee cooks also speak about this. When you serve, then somehow your hunger goes away as well. It's interesting, right? Yeah. You serve prasad, you might be really hungry beforehand. And then after serving, that hunger goes away. Because Prabhu, you experience this? Yeah.
I think
Many times.
speak of this.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And then we can think about that in a broader context. We might be feeling ourselves somehow overwhelmed or in difficulty, but then we serve others and our mood lifts up. He says, not only my hunger and thirst are gone, my moroseness and distress have also gone. Once we were with the devotees in Rishikesh, we were preaching there with the Vijay Maharaj, and we had about 40 devotees with us, and then we were on the train going back to Vrindavan. And at a station along the way, some devotees knew we were on the train and they came with prasadam, like a bag full of prasadam packets. And so I volunteered to serve. So I went through from carriage to carriage, meeting all the devotees. It was actually really, really wonderful, because I got to meet everyone and then give them a gift. It wasn't my gift, but I got to be the agent who was distributing the gift, and I experienced that as with each devotee encounter, I became more and more joyful, more and more blissful. Just with that association, interaction, that opportunity of service, I was becoming more and more blissful. And so Ratidev is sharing that as his experience. He's given away his last remaining, not just food, his last remaining water to a Chandala and his dogs, and he feels he's no longer hungry, he's no longer thirsty, he's not morose, he's not lamenting. And as that Chandala and his dogs left, something else that was a miracle. The demigods, Brahma, it says the demigods, and then Prabhupada says like Brahma, Shiva, Indra. So we don't know exactly which ones, but they returned. And they showed Ratidev that the Brahmana was a demigod, that Sudra was a demigod, that Chandala was a demigod, those dogs were demigods, they were all demigods. They had heard of Rantidev's glory, his charity, his compassion. They had heard about it in the heavens. And they wanted to experience it. And so they had come to him. They had caused him to not have food, not water, not be able to get it for a long time. You might have experienced that. Some days you just, for one reason or another, you just can't make it to eat. Something just goes wrong. You just arrive as the shop's closing, or as the prasadam room, the kitchen closed, and just didn't have any money with whatever it was. For some reason, you just don't get to eat. And so the demigods, they can arrange this for Ratidev, but it was over many, many days he didn't have food. And then arranged for him to get food, and then they went one by one in different disguises to see his glory. They were so pleased with Rantide that they offered him, please ask of us a benediction. What do you want? When you have Brahma and Shiva and Indra asking you to take a boon, you could choose anything, sovereignty of the world, any great opulence, power. What did he choose? What did he ask for? It's interesting. He didn't want anything. He wasn't being charitable, he wasn't being generous or compassionate for anything. Rather, he saw this as his service to Krishna. What he wanted was to always remember Krishna, to not be deviated in his devotion to Krishna. And so when the demigods are offering him gifts, he's like, no, I don't need anything. I just want to keep my mind focused on Krishna's lotus feet. And so this is a really important link for us. We started, the description of Rantide's glory began with, he perceived Krishna's presence in the hearts of all living beings. And then we learn of his generous acts. And then it comes back to, why is he doing this? For him, this is service. This is devotional service. It's not piety. We might think of compassion or charity as mundane piety. Sometimes devotees are a little hesitant. Mundane piety will get implicated in someone's karma. They'll have to come back to the material world. They've been entangled now in someone's karma. You could do it as mundane piety. You'll get some credits, some punya karma. Or you could do it thinking, this is a soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Like me, part and parcel of Krishna. And when I see Krishna present in all things and in all beings, Krishna is pleased. And this energy is Krishna's. So the externals of an act can be deceptive when it comes to bhakti, because bhakti is also an internal affair. For Rantide, this compassion, this generosity, it is his devotional service. So a few things we can learn from Rantide, many things we can learn from Rantide. One is that sometimes we think, oh, I don't have anything myself, I'm struggling myself, how can I help anyone else? Rantide shows us, whatever our position, we can always be kind to another. We can always be there for another, even if it's, maybe you don't have material resources. I mean, you can't offer a little sweet, or you can always offer a smile. You can offer your presence, you can offer your empathy with a compassionate glance or recognition. You can offer a kind word. Rantide has nothing to give, and yet he still found it himself, in himself, to give. And then the other thing we can learn from Rantide is his experience from giving. This is supported by science as well. Anyone who engages in volunteering, charitable acts. And their own mood, happiness, well-being are benefited as well. The other thing we can learn from Rantidev is that for the devotee, compassion and generosity, they are bhakti. On their own, they're not, but when they're done as service to Krishna, seeing Krishna's presence within the hearts of all living beings, they are devotional service. And we can take this idea further by learning from Prahlad Maharaj. So he's our second exemplar. When we think of Prahlad Maharaj, what are the qualities that come to mind? Think of his story, Hiranyakashipu trying to kill him. He's tolerant, okay, yeah, good, thank you, yeah.
Fearlessness.
Huh?
Fearlessness.
He's fearless. He is fearless.
Selflessness and compassion.
And he's selfless and compassionate. So tolerance, fearless, selfless, compassion. Anyone else? Humility. Yeah. Thank you. And then of course his devotion, right? His devotion. So these qualities were actually prophesied about Prahlad even before he was born. Prahlad Maharaj's story is described in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the 3rd canto, we already have a prophecy about Prahlad and who he will be. And it concerns the pregnancy of his grandmother, Diti. Diti had approached her husband at an inauspicious time. He had told her so. She was insistent. And it was a time that offended Lord Shiva, was his holy time. And so her husband, Kashyap, said, "You've offended Shiva, and there's going to be consequences. The children that are born will be demons." And she expressed remorse and regret. "I'm so sorry to have offended Lord Shiva. How will I get his forgiveness? How will I get the forgiveness of his wife, Parvati? How will I get your forgiveness?" So she's very remorseful. And her husband says, "Because you are showing this attitude of remorsefulness, your grandchildren, your grandson will be a great devotee. He will be recognized everywhere for his devotion, for his being non-envious, for his fearlessness or courage, and for his compassion." Here's how Kashyapa describes the future Prahlad. Krishna Prahladya Yatito Dukeshitu Dukiteshu. This is a common way that devotees are described. Devotees are happy on seeing others happy, and they are sad seeing others sad. He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness and distressed in others' distress. He will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun. Beautiful. The cooling moon. Prabhupada, he would often use some other phrasing that the devotee is para what? Para dukkha dukhi and para sukha sukhi. The devotee is sad, seeing others' sadness, and happy, seeing others' happiness. And here in the Bhagavatam, we have different words, but essentially the same principle. Happiness, seeing others happy, seeing others happy. Sad, seeing others' sadness. In Prahlad, we see this idea applied in a more spiritual way. With Rantidev, we see his compassion expressed in a very, in terms of physical nourishment for the body and senses in the form of food and water. Prahlad Maharaj's understanding of other people's happiness and distress relates to a deeper root cause, where he sees people's distress as being based upon their forgetfulness of Krishna, and their happiness as being premised upon their being reconnected with Krishna. And so, for Prahlad Maharaj, his compassion is expressed by reminding others of Krishna. He takes it upon himself to preach to his school friends. They're all demons. He takes it upon himself to explain to them devotional service, to engage them in bhakti yoga. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he admires his guru, Narad Muni, who is a great preacher of devotional service, who reminds people of bhakti. So when Narasimhadev appeared to protect Prahlad Maharaj, and he killed Hiranyakashipu, and Prahlad Maharaj came forward to offer prayers on the instruction of Lord Brahma, one of the things he said to Narasimhadev was, "O best of great personalities, I'm not afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities." And we see that in his story. That he's been tossed off a mountain, or put in boiling oil, or attacked with sharp spear. He's always remembering Krishna. And so he's not afraid. He's fearless. But he does have a concern. I have a concern. My concern is for the fools and rascals, as Prabhupada's language, who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. That's my worry. Those who have forgotten you, I'm worried about them. That's the concern of the Vaishnava. We see this in Prabhupada. Worried for human society, experiencing so much suffering on account of having forgotten Krishna. And so his compassion moves him across the seas. His compassion, series on it. His compassion moves him from Vrindavan to New York City and to the world. Once he was asked in London, "Why have you come here?" He said, "I've come to teach what you have forgotten. You already know this, and you have forgotten it. And I'm here to remind you." This preaching is powerful because it is driven not to show off, not to be seen as great, but by this concern for those who have forgotten Krishna and a desire to remind them. Here's where Prahlad Maharaj, he prays in a way that is very similar to Rantidev. My dear Narasimhadeva, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed who are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, monavrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to the shelter of your lotus feet. That's Prahlad Maharaj's concern. Sri Maharaj likes to quote this verse. We're not interested in being the sadhu who goes off on our own, concerned with our own deliverance in the Himalayas or in the sanctity of Vrindavan. We don't want to be liberated alone, and therefore the devotee goes out to try to help others, to deliver others, to bring them back to Krishna's lotus feet. Prabhupada, he spoke on these verses more than any others in the Bhagavatam. These prayers and teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also liked to hear. Yes, he liked to hear the Rasa Pantanyaya. He liked to hear the Rasa dance. He liked to hear Gopi Geet and Venu Geet and Viraha Geet from the 10th canto, Brahmara Geet. But he also liked to hear Prahlad Maharaj's prayers and Prahlad Maharaj's teachings on bhakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's relishing Krishna consciousness internally. Externally, he's also concerned with delivering souls who have forgotten Krishna. He travels far and wide, reminding people of Krishna, and he instructs those who are receiving his mercy. He tells them, Yanadeke Tarakaha Krishna Upadesh Amaragyaya Guruhana Taranidesh. The Korma Brahmana, he received Mahaprabhu's mercy and he wanted to follow Mahaprabhu. Let me be with you. Mahaprabhu said, no, you stay here and you deliver the people of this land. On my order, you become their guru. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj, he says something very interesting in the next verse. He says, this was repeated many times. The Korma Brahmana story is one example of something that happened over and over again. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told people, you stay here and tell everyone about Krishna, and you help them as a guide, as a teacher. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he's sharing Krishna's love with one and all. He is Karuna Avatara, the incarnation of compassion, the most magnanimous, the most merciful of all incarnations. And the sentiments of the devotee in this mood of delivering and uplifting others, we see it expressed here in Prahlad Maharaj's prayer. So I want to round back to this idea that we discussed in relation to Rati Dev, where compassion, the devotee's compassion is bhakti. Okay, we can see it in relation to preaching. We're sharing Krishna consciousness with others, we're reminding people of Krishna. But the principle of compassion being bhakti, is something that I want to come back to and reinforce for you. It's easy for devotees to understand that preaching is bhakti, but compassion as bhakti, sometimes that's more difficult. Hopefully we've established this point with Ranti Dev, but I want to come back and establish it based on the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj as well. Prahlad Maharaj is very famous as the source of this idea of Navanga Bhakti, or the 9 limbs of Bhakti. Like any academic source on Bhakti that you pick up will say, there are 9 limbs of Bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, and so forth. Hiranyakashipu took Prahlad on his lap and he said, my son, what is the best of all things that you have learned? He's thinking in Sanda and Amarka's school. The sons of Shukracharya, they have a gurukul, he sent his son there to learn. And so he's thinking Prahlad's going to tell him something about Danda, Veda, different types of diplomacy, and so on. But he's thinking, oh, what did I learn? The best thing? I learned that from Narad Muni when I was still in the womb. And so when his father asked that question, he says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Hearing about Krishna, remembering Krishna, glorifying Krishna, and so on. These 9 practices of bhakti, they're the best thing I ever learned. Hiranyakashipu is enraged. He throws Prahlad to the floor. Says such are the words of a child whose mind has been polluted by the enemy. Okay, so we have that as a reference. Now we fast forward some years in Prahlad's life. Sometime later in Prahlad's life, he's in the class with his school friends. Bhagavatam describes how his teachers were away and his friends asked him, Prahlad, how do you know all of these things about bhakti? Because he's preaching to them. And he tells them, actually, I learned all of this from my teacher, Narada Muni, when I was still in the womb. And so they ask more questions. What is bhakti? And Prahlad Maharaj gives a list of 9 things. Right? 9 things. He gave 9 to his father, and here he's going to give 9 practices of bhakti. Accept a Guru Ashraya. Offer your possessions to the spiritual master, Sharva Labda Arpana. Associate with devotees, Sadhu Bhakta Sangha. Worship Krishna, Ishvara Aradhana. Hear Krishna's glories, Katayam. Glorify Krishna, Kirtan. Meditate on him, Param Pujam Dhyanam. And Hari Sarva Bhuteshu. See Krishna within the hearts of all living beings. Also, Navanga Bhakti, not as famous as the first list, but given by the same source. Quite a few of the items overlap. We have Kirtan there, we have Shravanam there, but then we also have these nice points about taking shelter of a spiritual master, serving Vaishnavas. This is some of the items from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's list of 5. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also has a list of 5 practices of bhakti. Here, Bhagavatam, chant Krishna's glory, Krishna's name, serve Vaishnavas, serve the deity. So this is actually more similar to Lord Chaitanya's list. But the 9th item is relevant to our discussion on compassion, particularly considering the basis for Rantide's compassion. He was compassionate based upon his perceiving Krishna's presence within the hearts of all living beings. And in fact, this 9th item, Prahlad Maharaj expands upon with a full verse. Hari sarveshu bhuteshu bhagavanasta ishvara iti bhutani manasa kamasthai sarumanyate. One should always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized representation as Paramatma. This is Prabhupada's giving that clarification, who is situated in the core of every living being's heart. Thus one should offer respect to every living entity according to that living entity's position or manifestation. So our respect will be customized according to the situation, the person, the need. It's not one size fits all. There you go, I did my pronouns, I did my duty, but really understanding who is this person, who is this soul? What is the need of this soul? How will I best serve and support them? And so, from Prahlad Maharaj, we have the principles that we learn from Rantidev. They get extended where compassion is expressed as helping others by preaching, by reminding others of Krishna. But then we also have an explicit description of this seeing others, seeing Krishna's presence within others as an item of bhakti as well. Prahlad Maharaj expresses this in other places, but we also have it in Kapila's teachings on bhakti. When he explains bhakti, he explains how the neophyte just sees the deity in the temple and serves there. The advanced devotee sees Krishna in all living beings and has love and respect for all living beings. So a distinction made by Kapila Dev between the neophyte devotee versus the advanced devotee. The advanced devotee actually has compassion for all living beings. And similarly, Krishna, he explains this to a similar principle to Uddhava in the 11th canto, and the Navayogendras also teach this. It's interesting, whenever you have this delineation of bhakti in the Bhagavatam, often it will come to this point, that it includes seeing Krishna's presence within the hearts of all living beings. Essentially, we can't have devotion for Krishna without having love for all living beings. If we do, okay, you're still a devotee, but you're a junior devotee, a neophyte devotee. The advanced devotee, their love for Krishna will include love for everyone, will include love for all living beings, regardless of who they are, the situation, their context. That may be considered, but the principle of love will remain there as a constant. So I will conclude there. If there are any questions or reflections on what we've shared today. Vasudev Prabhu, because you're a Pujari, so yeah.
I was wondering if you had some. Thank you for the wonderful question. I was wondering if you have some insight in Prahlad Maharaj's activities post his darshan and prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. He sent him to the lower planetary regions filled with very materialistic beings.
Yeah.
But we don't hear so much about how he expressed his compassion there. Obviously the compassion was burning in his heart, and he was made king. So I was just wondering, like, how did he express this, that compassion?
Yeah, good question. The Bhagavatam doesn't tell us explicitly, so that's my my first response. And so how I respond will be I'll be extrapolating from what little the Bhagavatam does reveal to us. So yes, he is made king. Initially he thinks Nrsimhadev thinks that with his prayers he wants some material benediction. He says, no, don't think because I'm a demon that when I pray to you I want some material reward. I don't want anything. Yeah. And then Nrsimhadev says, I know, but I want to give you this a benediction. I'm going to give you a kingdom. And then Prahlad says, well, if there's something to ask for, please deliver my father. And don't worry, it's already done. I think where we might, so he does his duty. So that taking on the kingdom, he understands from Narasimhadeva and Lord Brahma, it's his duty. He is the son of a king, he's born in that family, and he has a service to do, and that is to rule the Asuras. And so part of that will be to honor the Asura choice. We all make choices, and Krishna is respecting our choices. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Yadichiti Tata Kuru, as you wish, so you do. He's explained to Arjuna the consequences of choices, but then he leaves it to him to do so. And I would say with Prahlad Maharaj, he takes on that service, but he also understands that that role is to honor the choices of these asuras, as much as he's there to give association. And I would say that his presence does make them peaceful. I have some sense that that is mentioned somewhere, that his presence makes them peaceful. And there's also, the fifth canto. There's that nice prayer by Prahlad, and it's described he's in one of the dvipas, and he's worshipping Narasimhadev, and he's wishing auspiciousness and goodness. Actually, we should have included that verse in today's presentation. He's wishing goodness and auspiciousness and well-being for all living entities. And so his presence, we would say, makes those demons peaceful. But then the demons, they have their choices as well. Later on, he has his grandson, Bali Maharaj, who wants to take over the universe and challenges Indra, I guess part of that, the demon role as well. But then when he's arrested by Valmiradev, Prahlad Maharaj appears. And he says to Valmiradev, or Trivikram, he says, "You are so kind upon my family. You are so kind upon us demons. Because with the demigods, you show them favor. And they're kind of happy, satisfied with material rewards. But with us, you chastise us." And that's your real mercy, because with your chastisement, you really purify us and shake us up. And so I want to express appreciation for the special mercy that you show to us, to our family, and to all of us. That's as much as I can offer you from the Bhagavatam.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Kasturba Prabhu, you had something.
Are we okay for time?
Upachari.
Until the conch shell blows.
I really
She's
enjoyed
coming.
everything you shared, and it stirred up so much thought in me. And there's one thing I heard from a sadhu. I don't know if I've ever heard a scriptural reference for it, but I was seeing everything that you're saying through what I heard, and it was all just snapping nicely into place.
Okay.
And that is that when one has prema, love for Krishna, when they're facing Krishna, it's Krishna prema, and then when they're facing, you could say facing the material world or facing those that don't have, then that same love manifests as compassion.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
So many things you're talking, like in other words, we understand preaching as bhakti, but as compassion bhakti.
Right.
Well, it would seem to be that compassion is the same bhakti.
Right.
It's just the same bhakti pointed in another direction. Preaching is just an expression of it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think if we conceive of it that way, which your class is so nicely kind of directing us to, then it is that that idea of rising out of our Kanishta shallowness, you could say, becomes dependent on that understanding, right? That it's not even that, I will develop love of God and then I'll have this other compassion, or I'll develop this compassion, and then I'll have love of God. But it's just kind of one thing.
Right, simultaneous.
Yeah, that we're trying to become, our natures will come out as love of God in this direction, as love of every human being in that direction. So many other things we can talk.
Wonderful, yeah. And this was coming to my mind as you say that the devotees described as soft-hearted.
Yeah.
So that softness, bhakti softens the heart.
Yeah.
And it's that love for Krishna, but that softness is also expressed
Yes,
towards.
bhava when it's facing to Krishna, and it's passion. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Grantulad Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna, thank you all so much. Thank you, Sri Prahlad. Now we'll have arati, so we can just move these red cushions to the side and everyone can come forward and sing and dance for Shri Radha Muralidhar Gaurachandra. Shri Shri Gaurachandra ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Krishna Krishna Bhutaya
Prabhupada, Paramahansa Prahlad, Victoria Soul, Saraswati Sri Srimad Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Shri Rupa Shri Sanatana Bhakti Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Sarana Santo Swami Prabhupada ki Prem Se Baho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki Ganga Devi ki Yamuna Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki Tulsi Maharani ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Maya Pranavarik Dham ki Raja Bhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Shri Radha Murli Dhara ki Shri Gaura Chandra ki Srila Prabhupada ki Sai Gaur Premananda Glory to the assembled devotees Glory to the assembled devotees Glory to the assembled devotees Oh glory to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada Lada Daine.
Prahlada Lada Daine.
Hiranyakashi Purakshaha.
Hiranyakashi Purakshaha.
Siddharthantanakaya. Thank you all so much for being here. Another big Haribol for Sri Prahlad Prabhu for speaking. Haribol! Yes, next week he's going to speak again. Haribol! Very excited about that. Yes, so please come in. And the week after that, Keshava Swami will be speaking. Yes, which is very exciting. He's going to be speaking the following week, which is October 8th, and he's also going to be giving a morning in-person Srimad Bhagavatam class on October 10th. So please come for that. And also, if you haven't signed up already, we're having a one-day retreat with Krishna Kshetra Swami about Lord Chaitanya. And that's on Saturday, October 14th, all day. Please sign up. It's free, but you can give a donation, and it will be here, and it will be wonderful. He's just amazing. So please come. And then we have coming up also October 29th, first day of Kartik, will be a festival of the anniversary of the installation of Gaurachandra. Yes. And then on November 12th is Diwali, Sunday evening. And then November 13th is Govardhan Puja, Monday evening. So lots of festivals to look forward to. And if you want to get lots of updates about what goes on here, go to www.bhakticenter.org, scroll down to the bottom and click on Join Our Temple Newsletter, and you can get all of the information of what goes on here. We have a lovely lunch served for you all in the back. Please stay, take prasadam in the back of the temple behind there, and speak with each other and share your hearts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.